back from Stick's blog. I'm Stick, and today I kind of want to do a, not necessarily a follow-up video, but more like a continuation video on my recent Phoenix underquilt video slash review post that I did on my blog. Now just real quickly, just to kind of sum things up, a while back I ordered a Phoenix underquilt, a 20° Fahrenheit underquilt from Hammock Gear. When I got the underquilt, there was a few things that I had questions about, so I called Adam, which is the owner at Hammock Gear. I spoke with him about them, and in the end, not that I was exactly unhappy, but in the end he told me that if there was anything that he could do to make me happier with the product, to just let him know, and he would do it for me, even if that involved making a completely different underquilt and sending it back. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details of that, and if you're interested in reading about those details or watching the video that I made, just look a few posts down below this one, and you'll find all that information. But a long story short, he did end up sending me a different version of the Phoenix underquilt. What he's decided to do is he's kind of tweaked the Phoenix underquilt, and he's doing them a little bit different than what he was doing. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to kind of talk about the new version underquilt that he sent me, and just kind of quickly compare it to the older version underquilt. So I just kind of want to go through some of those things and talk about them. Now I will say before I get started, whenever he sent me the new version of the underquilt, he did everything the same as was done to my original underquilt, meaning that he used the Cuben fiber on the inside, as you can see right here in the video. He used 900 down fill goose down to stuff them, and he told me that he would go ahead and put the extra ounce of 900 down fill in the new version, because that's what I opted for in the older version. Real quickly, the reason I did that is because I want to be able to use this down into the teens, and granted these are 20° Fahrenheit underquilts, I wanted to just kind of get a little bit of extra edge, just in case I needed it. So that's why I opted to go with the extra ounce of down. So he added the extra ounce of down to the new version. The only difference is, as far as the materials that he used, instead of going with the 1.1 ounce ripstop nylon like he made for me on my first one, he threw in some of the 7 denier, which is the new happening material, and if you haven't heard about it, I'm sure you will. But he used the 7 denier on the outer shell of the new version of the underquilt. So real quick, well, I guess before I give you a close-up shot of them, I will say that I did weigh this underquilt inside the supplied stuff sack on my scales, and I came up with 14.4 ounces. Now granted, that was the stuff sack, the underquilt, as well as the suspension, including the 2 carabiners. The stuff sack itself, I weighed it separately, it weighs 0.5 ounces. So what I came up with is I have a 13.9 ounce underquilt here with the suspension and carabiners, and compared to my old one, which does use the heavier 1.1 ounce ripstop nylon, I had a 17.1 ounce underquilt here. Well, again, with the suspension and with the S-biner carabiners. So right there's a difference of 3 ounces in the 2 quilts. Of course, the lighter being the newer version. But there are a few things that he did do different with this version. And what I want to do is, real quick, I just want to take the camera down and get a little bit closer to this underquilt so that you can see it a little bit better. And I want to kind of explain some of the differences. So give me just a second. Okay, so what you're looking at now is the newer version of the Phoenix 20° Phoenix underquilt. And like I said, there are a few different things that he did different from the original version. Now let me just say real quick that my original version, I've shortened the suspension on it, and that's why it's kind of pulled up around the corners. But I've shortened the suspension on it so it'll fit up underneath me better. That's why it is the way it is. But I don't know how well you can tell it, and it's probably hard to with this, considering the edges are pulled in together. But as far as overall design, the first noticeable thing that he did different with this is he made this wider at the head and as it went down it tapers. Like again, I said, I know it might be hard to see because the ends are pulled in, but you got to trust me here. It's wider at the head end, and it does taper slightly towards the foot end. Now he did this based on the design of his full-length incubator underquilts, whereas with those it's wider at the head end to fit around your shoulders, and as it goes down towards the foot it narrows. And again, he did the same thing with this. One other thing that he did different with this design as opposed to his old design is, if you can see here in his old one, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 baffles that make up this one, whereas in this one he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he uses 9 baffles throughout this underquilt as opposed to the 7 in the older version. Now again, he uses 9 baffles in his underquilt for the incubator. Now I will say right here, I don't believe that just because there's 9 baffles in this one and there's 7 in that, I don't believe that's what makes this one slightly wider than the older version, because if you'll look here, it's kind of hard to see, but if you'll look here, you can see that these in the newer version are just slightly narrower than what's in the older version. So while there's only 7 here and 9 here, these are slightly wider baffles than these are. Now that said, I did put a tape measure down on this end, and the way these baffles work, they start off at about 3 1/4 inches down here on the foot end, and as they go up, they get just a little bit wider. Then up here at the head end, the baffles are actually measure 4 1/4 inches wide. So as you can see, each of those 9 baffles, they expand just a little bit as they go closer to the head, and by doing that, that's how the head gets wider than the foot. Now I keep talking about width. I will say that I measured the width of the new version with the tape measure, and I got approximately 42 1/2 inches wide at the top end. Now that's a big difference, because in this underquilt here I measured 38.5 inches wide across. Now again, like I said, this one is a complete perfect rectangular design. It doesn't get smaller and taper like this one does. It's rectangular all the way around. So I had 38.5 inches at the head and foot of this one. Like I said, I get 42 1/2 inches at this one. So right there I've got 4 inches more on the head end. So this thing really does wrap around my shoulders much more than this one did. One other thing I want to point out that is different in these two underquilts, and I don't know if you can see it real well here, but you probably can. The shock cord that he uses in the new version is quite smaller than the shock cord that's used in the older version. Now one thing I will say about that, I have hung it up under my hammock already. I did that first thing when I got it, and I will say that it feels a little different using the narrower shock cord. In my opinion, it feels like with the thicker shock cord, it feels like it's got more support, and it cups around the hammock just a little bit better than it does with the thinner shock cord. That's kind of hard to explain because it doesn't really make sense. It would seem like shock cord is shock cord and it's going to hold it up the same as it does no matter what the thickness is, but in my opinion it just feels different using the thicker shock cord. I think in my opinion, I think that I would like this underquilt better if it used the thicker shock cord. But now saying that, I will also say that of course naturally, since it's thicker shock cord, it would also add just a little bit more weight to the overall underquilt. Now that might be something to take into consideration, because whenever you're looking at this underquilt right here, you are really looking at a piece of cutting edge technology. Like I said, the 7 denier material that he uses on the outside, I mean, you're just not going to hardly find anything that's going to be lighter than that as far as a material. The Cuben fiber, that in itself is just an amazing product, the Cuben fiber. And then of course he uses 900 downfill on the inside, which is amazing. I mean, you're not going to find much higher downfill. There's some products made with 950 downfill, I believe, or some may say 900 plus, but this is 900 downfill. So top of the line product completely. Real quickly, when this one came in, I looked over it again, just like on that one there. All the stitching and everything is just awesome. Granted, I did find one little spot on this one where the stitch missed part of the outer edge, It's nothing that's really big that I've got a lot of concern about. On this one, as far as I can tell and saw, he didn't miss anything. It really is perfect. It's a beautiful piece of gear. One other thing I want to throw in that's on this underquilt that's not on that underquilt, and you can see it in the picture here. There you go, custom made by Storm Crow. That's a sweet little patch right there, and that makes this underquilt worth having just as it is. So anyway, those are some of the big differences that I can tell between the two. Now I want to go back to this one for just a minute and talk. I did have some concern when I got this underquilt here. I wasn't sure how well I was going to like it, but after using it a few times, I've got to say I really have fell in love with this underquilt. I mean, I really have. I mean, I leave it laid out on the bed. I don't put it in a stuff sack when I store it. I leave it laid out, and occasionally I'll just walk by and just kind of lay my hand on it and feel it, because it's just so soft and fluffy and nice, and I really like it. This one right here, this one has just got sex appeal all about it, because it's using, just like I said, top of the line materials that's used throughout this entire underquilt, as well as the cool little patch over there, which that one doesn't have a patch. I wish you would have put a patch on that one, just because, you know, anyway. So anyway, now what I need to decide is which one do I like and which one do I want to keep. Now I just want to throw in right here in this video, real quick, let's see, hang on, I'll throw these over so you can see them from the other side. Okay, there you see them. Now I need to figure out which one I'm going to keep and use. Now, initial impressions, right now I'm thinking about keeping my old one. And that may sound kind of surprising, because I mean, of everything that this one is and is made up. But what I'm thinking about, and if you remember from the beginning of the video, I said that I want to use this thing in temperatures down into the teens. So naturally I want one that's going to be, I want to keep the one that's going to be the warmest. Looking at loft only, this one lofts up much more than this one does. Now like I said, they're both supposed to have 9 ounces of 900 downfill, but for some reason this one lofts more than this one does. I'm taking into consideration that this one has been laid out on a bed for the past, you know, 2-3 weeks. It hasn't really been in a stuff sack for hardly a day or two when I've used it on a few trips. So this thing has remained opened up and unlofted for quite some time, whereas this one has been compressed in its stuff sack and laid, or in a stuff sack, and I just opened it up a couple hours ago and it's been laid out. But ultimately I'm going to go with the one that has the most loft. So like I said, right now this one's winning out. I wish that that one, or to be honest, I wish this one had a little more loft to it, because I would definitely go with this easily. But like I said, when it comes down to it, I want the one that's going to keep me warmer. Regardless of what the materials are made out of or what kind of patches on it, I want the one that's going to keep me the warmest. And I'm expecting that one too at the moment. But anyway, I just wanted to do that, this comparison kind of review. I told Adam that I would lay them out next to each other and do a comparison whenever I spoke with him on the phone, and he told me that he would send me this new one here. So this is what this is. So anyway, if you have any comments, questions, or anything like that, or just want to point out something that I haven't realized, because I'm well aware that I don't know everything, and when it comes to hammocks and some of the hammock gear, there's a lot of things that I'm still not up to par on. I'm learning this as I go. So like I said, if you have any questions or comments, just post them below and I'll get back to you. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope it was informative to you in one way or another. And in the end, I highly recommend Hammock Gear. If you have any kind of needs as far as quilts or anything, I highly suggest you check out Hammock Gear. Get in touch with Adam, talk to him, tell him what it is that you want, and work something out with him, because I think you will be impressed as far as the quality of the material, or the final piece of gear that you get. Anyway, so again, I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, see you later.